Hey everybody, Kent Stones, founder and CEO of Dorothy's Power Foods. Wanted to start sharing what's going on with Dorothy's Power Foods, kind of where we're at. We haven't launched yet, but I thought it'd be good to start kind of talking about what we have going on, where it's going, and then once we start getting people driving to the site and we actually have the product ready to launch, we'll have a nice audience built in. So anyway, it's Friday morning. I love Friday mornings. It's always a chance for me to learn. It's kind of a learning day for me, but I thought what a great way to kind of kick off a Friday than being able to share what's going on. So first and foremost, we pretty much have the recipe for our first product, the hot cereal, finalized. Tested a few things, had a really interesting use of a different ingredient of just using plain white quinoa instead of the tricolor, and believe it or not, it makes a huge difference in texture and taste and so forth. So we're back to our tricolor, not just from the visual appeal to it, but just gives it a nice little crunch and different texture that we like a lot more. We are working to try and figure out how to produce it in a commercial setting. As you can imagine, cooking it in a small kitchen or a small laboratory setting, very controlled, one thing, but then once you start cooking things in large systems, typically in vats, these cereals like this are created in, it introduces a whole different set of logistics. So we're working through all that. There is a lot of really great, high quality food production companies that actually do a lot of the production for many of the major brands that you know and love. So we're going to do the same thing. As you can imagine, with manufacturing, particularly the food product, there's a lot of requirements that you have to meet from the facility and safety perspectives. And since safety and quality are our number one priorities with a food product, we're going to be finding an existing food manufacturer that meets all the criteria, has a gluten-free facility, etc. So working through that, as you can imagine, it's a lot of meetings, a lot of calls. You learn a lot as you go through. Who knew creating a physical product had so many little things? I did, but I jest. Packaging has been a little bit of an issue because one of the things that we're trying to accomplish is we want it to be fresh and pre-cooked, and that way, because the whole process of creating my mom's hot cereal, the reason that we can't just provide dry ingredients or dehydrated ingredients is that it's kind of a process to cook it. There's different stages, and so as you're going through that, you know, we want to be able to send the product pre-cooked. So in packaging, you have to start thinking about safety again. We looked at vacuum sealing. We're just looking at different ways to be able to provide the product as economically as possible. It does look like it may have to be refrigerated or frozen when we send it, which is, again, you can imagine, adds all kinds of logistics, but a lot of different options that we're looking at, trying to figure that out. A little bit on the website, just about have that ready to go. So hopefully today, this weekend, or early next week, we're going to start getting driving people to the website so they can see the story. We're getting a little video created that kind of tells that story and what we're doing. And part of that, and what I wanted to talk about today, is our Senior Center initiative. So part of what we're going to be doing, our value proposition is delivering fresh, clean foods for people that they can customize, that they can kind of customize to their own nutritional profile, but also their taste preference. But part of it too, and something that was really important to my mom in her everyday life, was the senior center that was in downtown Downey, and it's where she could go and she could exercise, she could meet with other people, she could commune with her other senior citizens in the community. And you know, the building was old. They were running off of really old equipment. I always went down and exercised to some Jane Fonda tapes whenever I would visit. But our whole goal is we want to be able to invest in these senior centers in rural communities so that they have a really safe, modern place to be able to commune with their peers. And the goal is, once we're going to start with Downey, get that up and running and figured out how we can help. but then we want to go to other cities, and then we want to start networking all of these so that they can actually communicate back and forth with each other. So that's kind of where things are at with regard to the product, getting the company up and going, getting all the organizational aspects of that complete, which are many. The topic that I'm thinking about today, and I ran across this in my scan and I just wanted to give a quick thought, is this whole idea of, there was an article written about, is there a rural renaissance that is going on due to the pandemic, where we've had to look at our food system, and according to the article, the pandemic caused all kinds of disruption in our food system, and but it's offering the opportunity for this kind of renaissance of rural areas where we've learned how important the farming communities are to our society. So I'm 100% support what the author was saying. What I don't agree with, though, is that the pandemic caused this disruption that is forcing all kinds of changes. If you look at the food waste system, which is the entire process and system of the production, distribution, consumption, and storage and disposal of food, actually over the last decades, food companies and producers in particular have been innovating like crazy to meet the demands of not only what people want to eat, but how they are expecting their food to be produced. Just dramatic changes in transparency, dramatic changes in how food is produced and distributed and sourcing and so forth. So that's been going on for decades, and I think we actually have to marvel at how adaptable and flexible our food system actually is, and the fact that we were able to adapt and make adjustments, and they were hard, no question about it. I'm not questioning that, but we were able to, and be able to make those changes and those systemic changes that are going to actually make us better in the future. So yes, our food system is very adaptable, and it will continue to be very adaptable, and there's a lot of great innovative things that are being done. The second part, though, is also this idea that rural communities have been in decline, and I think I have to say I probably bought into that too, and just looking at surface data. But recently I had an opportunity to work with a company, and when you start actually examining it and digging deeper, rural communities never went away. What happened was how communities started being classified according to the Census Bureau. And so while people probably, I think it is true there's probably been a migration out of rural areas, I don't think it's as dramatic or as sweeping as it may have been described, as these rural communities that were on the fringe or in between a large city and a true rural community got annexed. Suddenly they were just part of that large metro area. And so it looked like all those people moved, but they really didn't. Just hope that makes sense. So anyway, a couple of things I was thinking about, and just to help us think differently about food and our company as we continue to be a part of that food system in terms of the creation and distribution of food products that people can eat. So, hey, that's my Friday morning thoughts. You know, at this stage, no live audience, but this will be on the Facebook site, and hopefully you'll be able to take a look at this down the road and kind of see what we were doing, what we were thinking, and you know, always fun. All right, everybody, talk to you later, and I hope you all have a great weekend.